Yeah, so I tweeted this earlier. That's a complete lie. Here's the video. We have so much to talk about. Probably going to be one of my longest race reviews ever. How's it going, guys? RealRadman here, back at it again with another video. The Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis. Most of you guys know this race is not usually the best race, but the racing here wasn't great, but oh my god, did we have entertainment. If you missed this race, I'm very glad to be catching you up on it, but I'm also kind of sad you weren't able to witness what was going on, because this is going to be insane. So I'm going to try to touch on everything. Be patient with me. This is going to be a pretty long video because there's a lot of things we have to talk about. So I'm going to start at the beginning of the race. To be honest, I don't even remember who won the stages right now, so I have to go remember that. But we'll start towards the beginning, and Chase Elliott had an issue. His engine blew, so that's really unfortunate for his point situation. Everyone thought Chase Elliott has been pretty much okay to make the playoffs, but because of the events today, and I'll get to that later, the point situation for him is really getting serious, and he needs to kind of get back to what he was doing earlier in the season. So he blows his engine, he's out, and Kyle Busch would go ahead and win Stage 1. Stage 2, we saw an incident with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Unfortunately, his last Brickyard 400 did not go the way many Junior fans wanted, and I feel bad. His season's been awful so far. You can kind of tell he's lacking a little bit of confidence, but he looks fired up and looks like he wants to perform well in his last season. It's just not really working out for him. And listen, it's not, unusual. Gordon didn't have a great season his last year, even though he did make it to the Final Four, but the rest of the whole season wasn't fantastic. Tony Stewart didn't have a great season either in his last season. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going through the same thing. Hopefully he could get a win somewhere. I really want to see him win one more race before he goes out. We had a little incident here with Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Larson. I thought this was great. Kyle Larson moves Jimmy Johnson out of the way because Johnson is blocking big time. And listen, it's hard to pass anyways. And this is going to be very hard to pass. You just got to do anything. And Larson was actually kind of annoyed with how aggressive people were blocking him. We'll get into that later in the race because that would affect him later. So let's move on to Stage 3. Before we move on to Stage 3, Kyle Busch won Stage 2. He won both Stage 1 and 2. So now let's go to the big moment of the race. Now, if this did not happen, this one moment, if this did not happen, none of what happened after would have happened. I'm almost positive. This was the one moment in the race that really set everything off. It gave everyone belief that they can win. So we have the restart here, and I'll give you a summary of what's going on. So Truex and Kyle Busch, they're the two fastest cars of the entire race. With about 60 laps to go, 55 laps to go, we're in the final stage, and what happens is they've had an agreement the entire race. Truex starts in the bottom, Kyle Busch starts up top, and basically Truex, lets Kyle Busch in. They don't go side by side in turn 1. So Truex offers the same thing. Kyle Busch this time, and rightfully so. I mean, listen, Truex is a fast car. He was hanging with them, the entire race. Kyle Busch is like, you know what, we have to race him. And Truex is like, okay, you know what, we got to race. They're okay with it. They got to race each other. They had a deal, but, it's competition. We're getting towards the end of the race. You got to race each other. So they go down into turn 1. And as you can see what happens here, Truex just gets loose. He admitted that he lost it, and it's his fault. He overcorrected and just put Kyle Busch in the wall there. Unfortunate for Kyle Busch, he has had such horrific luck. And I know a lot of people do not like him, but you can't just ignore the amount of luck he's had, like the amount of bad luck he's had. Did he play a little bit of a part in it? Maybe. It's a racing incident, when a car is below another car. And especially with this aero package and how much I dislike it, and how I keep saying it's very hard to race side by side through the middle of the corner in high-speed corners. It's just too hard because the cars are very sensitive. You can do it, but the cars are so sensitive to air, and Truex lost that thing. They go in the wall, and the two dominant cars of the race are out. Now, what happens here is that another incident would happen after this. There'd be another caution. I think it was for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. who brought this caution out, and it was around lap 115, 118. So Trevor Bayne, Danica Patrick, guys like that, they pit. The caution before, Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, they pit. So Jimmy Johnson and Brad Keselowski, I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can. Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, they stay out while the leaders, Matt Kenseth and Kevin Harvick, who take over the lead from Truex and Kyle Busch, they pit with around 30 laps to go. Johnson and Brad Keselowski stay out, and Casey Kane. Casey Kane's part of that group as well. They stay out. They are waiting for a caution or just something to kind of spice up the race, because if they stay out long enough, and let's say the guys behind them like Kenseth and Harvick, who pitted with 30 to go, if they get a caution with 12 to go, everyone might have to come down back pit road. They gain the track position. So hopefully I explained that right. So with basically 10 to go, Kasey Kahne pits. All right, so Kasey Kahne, one of the 3 drivers that are involved, he pits. While he's on pit road, this incident happens with Clint Bowyer, and this was a huge incident. Kurt Busch hits him. I'll give you a bunch of camera angles here. So yeah, that was a huge incident there, and luckily everyone's okay. Indianapolis might have to think about that wall that sticks out. That's a little dangerous. But we go back to Kasey Kahne. Kasey Kahne is on pit road. He will be on the lead lap. He has fresh tires, and he gets to stay out on the next caution. Guys like Jimmie Johnson, Brad Keselowski, they have to pit. And guys like Matt Kenseth and Kevin Harvick, they lose a little bit of track position because they have to pit as well since the tires are already worn out. So from going from the lead, now they're probably like 5th or 6th. Kasey Kahne jumps to the front. Okay, so the first of the restarts, there were probably like 4 different restarts. There were so many. I'm trying to get it in my mind, I can say it correctly. So Kasey Kahne's pulling away, actually. Brad Keselowski's running 2nd. He gets a little arrow tight. Jimmie Johnson's running 3rd. And Kasey Kahne pulls out to like a 6/10 of a second lead with probably like 6 laps to go, correct? But an incident on the front straightaway with Kyle Larson occurs, and that brings out a caution. Kyle Larson, out of the race. With this blocking issue, that was kind of dumb. Kyle Larson was there, and got into some oil drive. That's unfortunate. But let's go back to the front. So Kasey Kahne is still in the lead. We're going to restart it again with Brad Keselowski on the outside and Jimmie Johnson on the inside. Jimmie Johnson is smoking for some reason. There's some sort of smoke coming out of the car. So they go through turn 1, and Kasey Kahne and Brad Keselowski are side by side. And Kasey Kahne does a fantastic job to stay off of Brad Keselowski and continue to side draft him down the back straightaway. Jimmie Johnson goes 3 wide. They go into turn 3 knowing that one of them probably is going to come out. So Jimmie Johnson wrecks underneath the 2. And Jimmie Johnson did not overcorrect. I think he knew that it was going to probably be pretty bad. And he's out of the race. But that moment, that sequence right there was insane. Just seeing Kasey Kahne be able to just drift off the corner. Side draft Keselowski. While he side drafts Keselowski, Jimmie Johnson goes 3 wide. Trevor Bayne's just chilling in the back like, oh my God, where do I go? Who do I follow? And they go 3 wide in a turn 3. I've never seen it before. Like, all 3 of them commit. Usually someone backs out, but all 3 of them committed. And they knew something was going to happen. Jimmie Johnson goes for a spin. So that's the second restart. Now, let's go to the third restart. So this is the one where I'm going to talk a lot about this, okay? Because if Kasey Kahne... let's put it in this context before I say anything about the end of the race. So if you guys know the restart rules, at the start of a race, the first lap, the initial green flag, the pole sitter has to get to the start-finish line first, no matter what happens. He has to be the one that, starts the race. Now, every restart after that is controlled by the leader, but he does not have to get to the lead or to the start-finish line first, if you know what I'm saying. So there's a restart box, and those of you know, in the restart box, the leader is able to control when he wants to go. Now, when that car goes, it's anything goes. It does not matter who gets back to the line first. So if you watch this restart carefully, I'm going to play at normal speed, and then we'll, slow it down. Kasey Kahne never goes, but he's still in the restart box by a pretty good amount. He's towards the middle to the end of the restart box. He doesn't go. Denny Hamlin hits him, jacking up the rear tires. Thus, Kasey Kahne gets a terrible restart because he never wanted to go initially. Now, I read some tweets on this, and I was tweeting. Twitter was insane during this entire moment. But the rule here is the leader starts the race. And the problem, the gray area here that NASCAR has to realize, and we need to have, smart people up in the box seeing this and understanding the rule book, is that, yes, Brad Keselowski, inherits the lead, but Brad Keselowski has nothing to do with this. He's restarting second, but he has nothing, he did nothing wrong. He's just a bystander at this point. It's down to what is morally right and, what's ethically right to Kasey Kahne. What is the right call to Kasey Kahne? He loses the lead because of this incident. The wreck behind them, including Trevor Bayne, Ryan Blaney, Austin Dillon. Unfortunate for them. But let's go back to the front of the race, because this worries me for future races. If, let's say a Homestead event, a championship event is decided this way. Kasey Kahne does not go. Denny Hamlin hits him, thus nullifying any advantage Kasey Kahne has. So you don't want to penalize Denny Hamlin. You don't want to penalize Brad Keselowski. They're just trying to guess the restart. But Kasey Kahne gets punished because of this. If you guys didn't watch the race, or those of you that watched the race, when they restarted again, for the green-white checkered, Kasey Kahne's not in the lead anymore. Brad Keselowski is. Now, this is what's wrong about that, is that when the leader doesn't get to control the race and he gets hit from behind, that's not the leader's fault. Pretty much nobody is at fault here. Kasey Kahne is not at fault. Brad Keselowski's not at fault. Denny Hamlin is not at fault. Denny Hamlin's trying to judge a restart. Brad Keselowski is just seeing when Kasey Kahne goes, and he's trying to get, to the start-finish line. And Kasey Kahne is trying to decide when he wants to go in the box. And there's a restart box that allows you to wait as long as you want, while you're still in that box, to hit the accelerator. If you had the tachometer, which I'm surprised NBC never showed, but if you had the speed on Kasey Kahne, you'll see he never went at the time that Denny Hamlin hit him. From the time Denny Hamlin, from the time he got into the restart box and the time Denny Hamlin hit him, Kasey Kahne never increased his speed. So therefore, the race was never started by Kasey Kahne, which means he should get his position back because he was unjustifiably done wrong by the car behind him. For some reason, NASCAR does not see it that way, and they give Brad Keselowski the lead. I'm very worried about this for future races, because that means anything goes. The rule book doesn't matter. In the rule book, it specifically states that the leader controls the race on the restart box. It does not matter if he gets to the line. It does not matter, what happens behind him, and nothing else matters. But he controls the start of the race. If he is not allowed to control the start of the race, then there has to be a nullification on that restart, and the leader should get his spot back. That's what should happen, because he never got to start the race properly. His rear end was jacked up when he wanted to go. That's not right, and you can't take the lead away from him. If that ruling is not fixed by in future races, there is going to be a huge problem in the NASCAR community, and I already have a huge problem with it. I have nothing against Brad Keselowski. I have nothing against Denny Hamlin. I have nothing against Kasey Kahne. I have no side I'm on here. My favorite driver was Jeff Gordon, and I support Chase Elliott right now. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm worried about the legitimacy of the sport and the rule book. We gotta follow the rules. And if the leader can't start the race, you're putting the leader at a disadvantage. Something he's worked so hard for to get, and then gets taken away from him because of bullshit. That can't happen. That needs to be fixed. So that was the longest part of this video. I knew that was going to be the longest part of this video. Hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying there, and I want you guys to comment down below on what you thought of that incident. We're all going to have differing opinions, but just from the rule book and what I know of it and how these things should be called, that's how it should go. Now NASCAR, obviously, it's like a strike, ball decision. They're gonna, decide whatever they think is right. But from what I see, and I'm almost 100% confident in what I saw, there's no way I could see that Kasey Kahne should have been starting second for the last restart. All right, so the last restart, we took a long time to get to this point. The last restart, Brad Keselowski chooses the top, while Kasey Kahne chooses the bottom, and Kasey Kahne ends up, on top, and he's able to come out of turn 2 with the lead. He fought Brad Keselowski and did a great job side drafting, comes out with the lead. Now Denny Hamlin and some other guys back there, they wreck. And I'm looking at at this very moment, I'm looking at where the overtime line is. Now, the wreck happens way before Kasey Kahne is to this overtime line, but we saw this in another race a couple weeks ago. I don't remember the exact race it was. I'm pretty sure it was at Michigan, but there was one in Xfinity race that happened in. I'm pretty sure it was in Michigan as well. But it happened in a cup race as well, where the overtime line, the wreck can happen before the overtime line, and the leader will be maybe a couple seconds behind that overtime line, but it takes a while for NASCAR to get the call, to bring out the caution. So they're wrecking behind. Kasey Kahne is heading to that overtime line. He gets to it, and then the caution comes out. Now I can see why people have a problem with this, because the wreck happens 4 seconds before Kasey Kahne gets to that line. So why is the caution not put out at that point? It has to be fixed. I've seen it once at Michigan, and I see it again here. It is not right. Trust me, it's not correct. We should have a closer. I don't like the overtime line rule, anyways. I think the 3 green-white checkers was good enough. I thought that was okay. I don't like the overtime line rule. It annoys me. But if we're gonna get this right with the overtime line rule, we have to call the caution as soon as possible, because Kasey was not to that line, but he still ends up winning the race. Because the caution does not come out until that overtime line. So again, comment down below. Let me know what you thought about that. Let me know what you thought about the entire race. There was a lot of controversy in this race. The Martin Truex Jr. Kyle Busch incident, the multiple restarts. My favorite moment of the race was 3 wide going into turn 3 between Jimmy, Casey, and Brad Keselowski. And I'd just like to formally thank Truex and Kyle Busch. I know your guys' races got fucked because of it, but damn, did you create one hell of a scenario to have a pretty, probably this is by far the most entertaining race you will see at Indianapolis. I cannot think of a more entertaining race that we will probably ever see at Indianapolis. It was a wreck fest. It had insane racing at the end. Not good, but insane. Like, stuff that's like, wow, what's going on? So many wrecks. My God, it was... How long is it? This video is going to be incredibly long. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe. One more shout out. I want to give a shout out to Kayla. She's on Twitter. She is one of the hugest. What is a hugest? She's one of the biggest NASCAR fans, biggest Casey Kane fans. And I've seen her struggle with supporting Casey Kane. And whenever I think of Casey Kane, I actually think of her now on Twitter. So I'll leave her Twitter down below if you guys want to check it out. So I'm very happy for her and all the Casey Kane fans out there. I'm a Hendrick guy, so I'm happy for Casey Kane. He's been through a lot. I'm very, very happy he finally got a win. It puts my driver, Chase Elliott, in a little bit of a hole. He needs to do better, but very happy for Casey Kane. I'm so happy for him. I can't explain it enough. I would have been happy for Brad Keselowski as well. Listen, Penske's still looking for their first Indianapolis win at the Brickyard. So, am I right about that? Have they ever won the Indy 500? I'm pretty sure they have. I'm not sure about that. Please don't quote me on it. But I know they've never won the Brickyard. So, I'm pretty sure they won the Indy 500. They've had to, but they've never won the Brickyard. So yeah, shout out to Kayla. Shout out to all the Casey Kane fans. NASCAR, don't mess up those restart rules. I'm watching you. That pissed me off. If Casey Kane didn't win that race, I would have been very upset because I felt like he was done wrong. But I'm happy he won. It kind of settles everything. We got away with it. Justice was served. Casey wins the race. But damn, what a race. So, like I said, subscribe if you're new. Like the video if you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And hope you're having a good night as well. Peace out.
Even if I tried, even if I wanted to, and I can't change. Even if I tried, my love, she keeps me warm.